Shalom, everyone, and welcome back. On Monday, September the 7th, today is a very special day in the calendar of the Jewish people. It's the 18th day of Elul, the month of Elul, or as we call it, Chai Elul, a day that gives chayus, gives life, energy to the month of Elul. What happened in Chai Elul was that the Baal Shem Tov, the founder of the general Hasidic movement, was born in a small town in the Ukraine in the year 1698. And just 47 years later, in 1745, the Alter Rebbe, the founder of the Chabad movement, Rabbi Shneur Zalman, was born on that day. So two great luminaries were born on this day, and as a result of it, it is a very auspicious day. Let's talk about that a little bit. What did the Baal Shem Tov bring to the world that was so unique? During his time, the world was in a slump. The Jewish world was in a slump. Certainly, the general world was in a slump. The Jewish people had experienced the terrible pogroms in the Ukraine of Khmelnytsky, where many, many hundreds of Jews were killed and many were forced to flee their homes. And terrible tragedies took place during that time. The Jewish people were at a very low level, spiritually and physically. And the rabbis of the time were really not so comforting. The rabbis of the time held themselves to be very aloof and very elitist, so that they felt that the only real connection to God that you could have is through Torah learning. And without Torah learning, without being a scholar, then God really did not really respect you that much. So the Jewish people felt, and the masses of the Jewish people were not scholars. They could read and write, but they weren't really scholars. So they felt very low and they felt very left out. Along came Rabbi Yisrael Baal Shem Tov, and he raised them up, and he lifted them up, and he showed them that everyone is precious before God. Everyone is special. A story is told of the Baal Shem Tov had an inner circle of great scholars, very holy followers, and he also had masses of people who were outside that circle. One day, the masses who were outside the Baal Shem Tov study hall were saying Tehillim. They were saying Psalms from King David. And the inner circle who were with the Baal Shem Tov were very jealous of the attention that the Baal Shem Tov paid to them. And their envy and their resentment was felt even without speaking. And the Baal Shem Tov felt how the anger that they felt. So, without saying anything, the Baal Shem Tov then indicated that everyone in the inner circle should hold hands and form a circle, and they all did, not knowing what the Baal Shem Tov had in mind. And then the Baal Shem Tov closed the circle by holding hands with the person to his right and to his left. And then there was silence in the room. And then all of a sudden, everyone heard the sincere, heartfelt prayers of the masses of people who were outside. And all of a sudden, their words became as a fire, and it entered into their room, and it circled around them and around and around them. And they all felt it, and they all saw this tremendous fire. The power of the common folk to say Tehillim, to say Psalms, and to pray to God. And then all of a sudden the Baal Shem Tov let go, and the fire went away. And the people realized that up in heaven, the words and the prayers and the Tehillim of the common folk are accepted by God very, very much. And they can understand it, and they can really appreciate it. But before that, really, perhaps only the Baal Shem Tov could hear it. Only the Baal Shem Tov could feel it. Much as the Rebbe would feel the innermost spirituality and prayers of the common folk, even people who were not so religious during his time. So the Baal Shem Tov felt it in his time as well. And he spread a movement that went all over the world, and it caused a tremendous fire with the Jewish people, and it ignited them so much that probably before World War II, before the Holocaust, perhaps a half to two-thirds of all the Jewish people in the world could consider themselves Hasidim. The Hasidic movement spread all over Europe, which was the entire civilized Jewish world at that time. And it really affected every single aspect of Jewish life there, with a fervor, with a love, with an emotional attachment, and with a study of Torah that was never really seen before in such a way. So the Baal Shem Tov was credited with igniting the Jewish people as never before. And along came the Alter Rebbe after him, 47 years later. The Alter Rebbe, Rabbi Shner Zalman, was entrusted with making this philosophy into a study, making it into a belief system that people could understand. Until this time, people didn't really study so much the Baal Shem Tov's teachings, but with the Alter Rebbe, they were able to understand it more and what Hasidic philosophy was really all about. And the Alter Rebbe was credited with making Hasidic Judaism understandable to the masses of the people and really bringing it out in a way that had never been brought out before. And from the Alter Rebbe came, of course, the modern Chabad movement that we have today, with its emphasis on love of your fellow Jew, of spreading out Jewish life and Jewish thought all over the world, as it says, Mashiachutsu Manasecha Chutza, spreading out everywhere, to the north, to the south, to the east, and the west. And this has been the actual goal of Rabbi Menachem Mendel Schneerson, the Rebbe, in bringing Chabad and bringing Judaism, Yiddishkeit, with the love and fervor of the Hasidic movement to every part of the world. So today we celebrate Chai Elul. Today is also the anniversary of the founding of the Chabad Yeshiva Tomchi Tamimim, the system of yeshivas, which were dedicated to those goals. Today is a day of Farbrengen, of goodwill, of gathering together, and we should all have an Elul, a pre Rosh Hashanah, which is coming up in only about 2 weeks, which is an Elul, a Rosh Hashanah of fervor, a Rosh Hashanah of meaning, that we should, those of us who are going to shul, should really make our davening really count during this time. Those of us who are not going to shul should daven at home and really experience the Rosh Hashanah as never before, perhaps in the history of the world. With the virus going on as it is today, things have changed a lot in the world, but as they know, many things have not changed as well. So I want to wish you all a very good Yontif. Chabad of University City will be having services Friday night through Sunday night. In the evening, it'll be at 6:30. In the morning, it'll be at 8:30. We are having a late shofar service at 12 o'clock and again at 6 o'clock on Sunday. There is no shofar on Shabbos. So we hope those of you who can't be in shul in the morning will come later on and hear the shofar together with your children. Everyone's welcome. There's no charge or anything like that. Bring your children, and we'll be doing it outside in the parking lot under safe circumstances. But again, 12 o'clock on Sunday and again at 6 o'clock on Sunday for the shofar. So no one should be excluded from that. If you haven't registered already for services at the synagogue, we still can possibly squeeze you in. Let us know if you're interested in coming. We have a very limited space for people, so we'd be happy to send you admission tickets if they're still available. Shalom, and have a happy Elul. Shalom, shalom.